Hello, hello. Welcome back to Life in Surround. This is a very special episode. This is one that a good buddy, faithful viewer, a frequent inspirer, encourager, Ralph, or otherwise known as Four-Eared Oneater, Four-Eared Wonder, has been asking for a Dutton-Vocalion video since the inception of this channel. Now, given that Dutton-Vocalion is the current reissue company focused on quad, SACD, vintage, mix releases, and I'm thoroughly enjoying a great deal of their output, I figure, hey, you know what? Throw Ralph a bone. It is a great idea. I do get my best ideas from you, Ralph. So, keep pitching and I'll keep catching, as it were. And yeah, life's been stressful lately. Some stuff going down at work. This close to deciding on not continuing my master's degree. Put in a resignation from the Army. Trying to go Coast Guard, but I don't know how that'll go. Don't even know if the 2-star general, who somehow is responsible for deciding if I can get out of the Army, will say yay or nay. I can expect a 3-month waiting period to even find out. But life is short. We have to make priorities. And one thing that I know that I love, just the greatest experience of my entire life, is every moment I get to spend with my son. And so I'm cutting out things from my life that interfere with that, as long as I can provide for him. And there are easier ways, there are better ways to provide for my son and my family than long deployments in war zones. And even the time dedicated to pursuing a master's just doesn't seem like it'll pay off enough at work in the long run to justify the lack of sleep, shoving him away while I'm trying to study or write something. But we do love music together, and I'm looking forward to sharing my love of music with him more and more as the years go by, and I enjoy sharing my love of music with you too. So the point of this video tonight, whenever you're watching this, is to just bring greater exposure to Dutton-Vocalion. I am in no way affiliated with them. Per usual, I'm going to be mentioning quadrophonic.com. I'm in no way affiliated with them, though I do love that site. It's the premier site to just geek out on surround music. Hey John, hope you're watching this. Yeah, if you love surround music and you have a disc player that can handle SACD, and you're at all interested in vintage, classic stuff from the 70s, expertly, lovingly, exquisitely mastered by someone who evidently knows what he's doing. Many, many, many sets of trusted ears have confirmed that this guy is just nailing these albums. And you don't know about Dutton-Vocalion and the awesome value that they're bringing to the surround optical disc market right now. This video is intended to rectify that huge problem. Alright, so without further ado, let's begin the discussion. So many of us are aware that over the years, many reissue companies have taken a crack at putting out classic albums either by remixing multi-tracks for an album that never existed in surround, or taking even a classic surround mix from the 70s, say, like an original quad mix, and simply mastering it to a modern medium. So as an example, an album may have come out in the 70s on Q8, which is an 8-track tape technology, but it plays in 4 discrete channels, or an SQLP, which is a matrix technology, which plays in 4 channels, but not quite completely discrete. You get some of the rear stuff in the fronts and some of the front stuff in the rears, and it's just a big mess. But it more or less works. And taking the mix that was originally mastered to those ancient analog mediums and putting them on a modern optical digital format that can be reproduced without tape hiss or LP noise, such as an SACD, Super Audio CD. Audio Fidelity tried this over the course of the last several years and eventually gave up like a year or two ago. And big thanks to Marshall for that endeavor. I have lots of Audio Fidelity SACDs, and I will definitely do a video on that. It's just not as relevant right this second as Dutton-Vocalion. Michael Dutton at Dutton-Vocalion is just really killing it right now, so this is the time for that kind of video. This is a 2016 Amador County Zinfandel, by the way, in case you were curious. Hey Fred Blue, hope you're watching too. Sipping on a great wine while listening to Quad and talking about Quad reminded me of you somehow. Anyhow, let's dig into the albums, right? Because one of the issues that I have with Dutton-Vocalion is they tend to put out some stuff that I just don't really have much interest in. What I'll do when a surround album is slated for release, if it's classic and already has a stereo, well-known version, I'll go audition it, usually on YouTube, on Pandora, or heck, Amazon, or wherever I have to go to find it, to just see, do I like this musically? Because content is king. If you don't like the content of an album, the chances are extremely low that a surround mix is going to change your mind. It has happened to me, and over the years of this channel, I'll try to point that out if a surround mix actually won me over when I didn't start out liking the music. But content is king. The cool thing about classic albums is you almost always have a chance to audition the material and just decide if it is worth taking the plunge, right? Now, the cool thing about Dutton-Vocalion is they're putting out SACDs, lossless, quadraphonic albums, exquisitely mastered. This guy absolutely knows what he's doing, at more or less bargain bin prices. You can get a single album for around 12 to 15 bucks, and sometimes that SACD actually has 2 albums on it, which the quadraphonic quad community lovingly refers to as twofers, 2 for 1. So, I mean, this is just an amazing company. So I'm going to run you through real quick like the albums that I've decided that I liked enough to pick up, but you should really go to the site and take a look for yourself. I mean, I'm not super duper into Percy Faith and some of the female country singers from the 60s or 70s or whatever, but there are fans that are just going gaga for this stuff, and there may be something on there that I don't really like that you do. So the point of this video is just to expose the site and the fact that Michael Dutton is mastering classic quad mixes onto SACD, and that they are available for basically like highway robbery prices. So if you haven't logged in and ordered your first batch, you're just crazy. They tend to release like somewhere between like 4 and 8 surround titles like once a quarter or every couple months or something like that. So at this time, the surround community is actually waiting to see what Dutton-Vocalion is going to drop next. In our last batch, we got a Tomita album, the Japanese electronica artist, and is just super incredible. And anything new by Tomita in lossless surround is just a dream come true. So, I didn't really go in for much else in that last batch, though I took the opportunity to catch up on a couple of titles that I had since researched and decided to go back and grab. But there's always something in every batch of Dutton-Vocalion releases every few months that I definitely feel like I couldn't live without, and you'll probably feel that way too. So just get connected, join Quadraphonic Quad, log in at Dutton-Vocalion, and just be ready. Catch up if you're just getting into it. So now I'm going to try to lead you chronologically through the albums that I've purchased from Dutton-Vocalion. This is just my best guess at my history with their site. So first off, representing the Oakland, California, Sacramento, California area that I was born near and still live near, we have Tower of Power. Ain't nothing stopping us now. Now, while this isn't my favorite Tower of Power album, the mix is very good. The fidelity's very good. I love their material, like You're Still a Young Man, Baby type of stuff. More of the soaring horns. But this is very cool. It's a slightly different take on the band, and I'm glad to have it in my collection. It was dirt cheap, and I have a surround album in my collection from Tower of Power, which I very much appreciate. So I hope I'm not underselling that. Just listen to it for yourself and see if it's for you. But it doesn't necessarily have like the soaring, ultra piercing, jaw-dropping, like trumpet type work on it. Next up, we have Rick Derringer, All-American Boy, and Spring Fever. This is a twofer. So you get both albums on one SACD for pretty much a single album price, like 12 to 15 bucks. And this is something that gets my son's booty shaking and singing along and dancing and clapping, and it's super fun music. I happen to like Rick Derringer's version of Rock and Roll Hoochie Coo way more than Johnny Winter, I think. Edgar Winter? Johnny Winter? And does their name end with an S? Winters? Anyway, you guys know who I'm talking about. You guys know who I'm talking about better than I know. Anyway, I like the production. I like the delivery. I feel like he fully baked some of the songs on these two albums, where when he was developing these songs with the bands he was in previous to recording these albums, those efforts feel like they just didn't quite nail it. So, if you want my number one recommendation to make sure you get before it sells out, this is probably way up there. If it's not my top recommendation, it's in my top 3. So pick up Rick Derringer, All-American Boy, Spring Fever. Unless you hate the music, okay? Then don't. But guess who? Road Food and Number 10. As with many Dutton-Vocalion twofers, I feel like he wisely put the better album first, okay? That's going to be a theme, and I'm not sure that I have an example of him breaking that theme. Alright, so he usually puts the best album first, and then the second album is there just because it's a bonus, it's a freebie, it's from the depths of his heart, it's just out of the goodness of his heart. I love Road Food. I'm just okay on number 10. And I guess that holds true for Rick Derringer as well. I love All American Boy, and I can give or take Spring Fever, though I think those are two stronger albums together. For Guess Who, I could have done with just Road Food. But I'm happy to have number 10 there for historical reference, and I'll probably give it at least another spin or two. And I'm happy that it's there. It adds value to the SACD. And I enjoyed listening to both albums with my mom recently, so that's priceless and, you know, well worth the investment, okay? So next we have Art Garfunkel, Breakaway. This album sounds so freaking amazing that I don't even mind how easy listening and adult contemporary oriented it is. Dutton-Vocalion has actually put out 2 Art Garfunkel albums, and they wisely split them into single titles, so you have to buy both. The other one is called Angel Claire or something like that, and again, auditioning it on YouTube, I just wasn't feeling it. I didn't really like it, and there's enough on Breakaway, even though it's easy listening more or less, that musically it really does compel me. It's got a song that he wrote with Paul Simon, My Little Town, I Believe When I Fall in Love, Next Time It'll Be Forever. There's just some stuff on here that has stood the test of time. It's got tremendous melodies. It's got the Paul Simon collaboration. So this is going to be in like my top 3 recommendations as well, okay? Michael Legrand, or Michel Legrand, not sure. But this one's cool. It's basically orchestral redos of pop songs, I want to say from the 70s. You've got Beatles, Simon and Garfunkel, Henry Mancini, Gershwin, those types. Yeah, like a lot of famous songs from movies and stuff like that. This is very cool. I can't comment on it too much. I need to listen to it more, but I definitely enjoyed it, and it's a keeper. And I love like stuff without vocals that can be kind of ambient and unobtrusive and just let the family kind of frolic and have fun. And this definitely fits that bill, okay? Now, I'm going to move on to Poco. We have Cantimos and number 7, I believe. And there is another Poco album that's out in optical surround. I want to say it's Crazy Eyes. And I want to say I have it on a DTS CD. So that is awesome. I think this actually sounds a little better. I may prefer the songs on Crazy Eyes, but both of these albums on this two-for one, are no slouch, okay? So that's definitely way up there on my list of recommendations. Have I filled out my top 3? Yeah, that would definitely be included. That's Timmy B. Schmidt from the Eagles, or Eagles, in case you didn't know. And Poco has a lot in common with Eagles, especially their earlier vibe, okay? Like their more kind of country Americana tinged vibe. Then we have Chet Atkins Super Pickers and Picks the Best. And this is just a good time. I love it. You may not, but it works for me. I love some like good old down home chicken picking, good time type of stuff, okay? Next we have Dedato and Air 2. So we get Air 2 fingers plus Dedato and Air 2 in concert, a 2-for-1. And then you get Dedato 2 and Prelude. So a lot of Air 2 and Dedato. So if you're into kind of a Santana vibe, kind of a Miles Davis percussion section Santana kind of thing going on, these artists played with many of the greatest fusion pioneers of the 70s. Air 2 and Dedato. It's just astounding that Dutton found these quad mixes and has mastered them exquisitely to SACD. You really gotta pick those up. So maybe I'm forming more of a top 10 than a top 3, okay? Now, we come to the Tomita album I was talking about. Can I even pronounce it? Daphnis et Chloe. Daphnis et Chloe. Daphne et Chloe. Something like that. Somebody will correct me. Anyway, I love Tomita. He takes classical music and sets it to fully synthesizer, sequencer type instrumentation, and I just can't get enough of it. I totally love it. The main ingredient, Euphrates River. This is a single album, like some of these are. Totally worth it, like 12 to 15 bucks or something. This is super cool. I love everything about it. I think the big hit here is Summer Breeze, but really, the whole album is just great. The vibe, the sound, the songwriting, I just completely dig it. I can't wait to dig into it way more over the years. Highly recommended. Hugo in Wonderland and Neil's Diamonds by Hugo Montenegro. I wasn't aware of this guy until this Dutton-Vocalion campaign. I'm so glad that I found out about him. He takes pop songs from the 70s and arranges them in kind of more of a orchestral, instrumental, maybe movie soundtrack kind of way. I totally dig it. So his takes on Stevie Wonder songs and Neil Diamond songs. Totally cool. Sometimes you're guessing which song he is covering. Like, he gets very different on some of the songs. So I actually very much appreciate that. It's not like elevator music of pop songs. It's pretty well thought out and creative arrangements. Okay, now we get to a biggie. Billy Paul, War of the Gods, and 360 Degrees of Billy Paul. This is probably my #1 recommendation. It's just cool, sexy as hell. Like, you need this. This is a twofer that should have been like 2 separate albums. Oh my gosh, he's just an amazing singer. The songs are just on point. I would say he's kind of like in the same genre as Isaac Hayes, but I actually like him more. If you don't have this Billy Paul twofer, what are you doing? What are you doing? Log in to Dutton-Vocalion.co.uk or whatever it is. I'll put the link in the description. But please go pick that up. So I think I'm at least to like a top 5 so far. And that brings me to Weather Report, Tail Spinnin'. Come on. I mean, do I need to say anything else? This is this is on fire. If you like fusion whatsoever, you just have to have this. The mastering is exquisite. The mix is complementary to the music. With all of these albums, there's no kind of like half-assing the mix, unless it's a twofer, like the live content that comes on the Air 2 Didato live thing may not be the most aggressive live mix you've ever heard, but for the solo albums, it's like a super discreet, like quadraphonic trip, and for the twofers, one of the albums might be stronger than the other, but you're still going to get the value out of the stronger album. And that brings me to the album that I just listened to tonight, George Benson, Body Talk. This is a 5-track, 35-minute instrumental album, and I think it was released as a single from Dutton-Vocalion just because of the name recognition, George Benson. It really does call for single album releases. We have quite a bit of George Benson in surround. I mean, more than nothing. We have the collaborative album that he did with Al Jarreau for Monster Music. And then he did his own album for Monster Music. I think it's called Songs of Love or something. I'll flash the correct title now. And then we have Breezin', I think, on SACD back in the days of, I think, Sony SACD or maybe Audio Fidelity. I'll flash the correct information now. So anyway, that gets us through at least a top 5 recommendation for what I would pick out for myself from Dutton-Vocalion. Go ahead and log into their website, look at SACD. I think they even break it up by surround. There's classical, there's easy listening, there's pop, a tinge of rock. You know, you get that Rick Derringer type thing every now and then. And let me see, I have a private message from Ralph where he talked about Dutton-Vocalion is making a deal with Rhino. What's going on with that? Boo, 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 boo. It says, by the way, I'm still wondering if that much anticipated rumor that Dutton-Vocalion formed an alliance with Rhino Warner to release a bunch of quad titles ever transpired. Have you heard anything to that effect? John mentioned it a while back. Wouldn't that be great? Some fantastic unissued quads from Rhino Warner would certainly boost our creds. Yeah, I agree with you, Ralph. Yeah, for sure. I would love particularly the Doobies box set that's been greatly rumored, even from Foraging Rhino. But hey, in the meantime, I'm just looking forward to the next batch of SACDs that Michael Dutton wants to drop on us. Either single albums or 2-for-1s. I'm good either way. I tend to like the first album on the 2-for-1s better than the second anyway, so I really wouldn't consider it highway robbery if they went exclusively to a single album model, though some of the 2-for-1s are exceedingly worth it. In my opinion, the Rick Derringer is way up there. The Didato Prelude and Didato 2, the Hugo and Wonderland, plus Neil's Diamonds. Some of them really stack up better as 2 albums together than others. But even in the case where I feel like the second album is noticeably weaker than the first, I appreciate that it's there. I'm not going to turn it down for the same money as a single album. And let's see, let's check Quadraphonic Quad's top surround albums. So I'm in the high resolution poll tab, P-O-L-L, on Quadraphonic Quad, and just checking to see, regardless of how many votes it's gotten, just what has the overall best aggregate score. And for instance, number 1 is Dark Side of the Moon, Blu-ray. Miles Davis Bitches Brew, the recent SACD release. I need to do a video on that, but I need to really give it an in-depth listen on a variety of different systems. It's a very complex, very tough album. Tomida's Planets Ultimate Edition, Talking Heads Brick. Gordon Goodwin Big Fat Band XXL. Nice. Porcupine Tree, Fear of a Blank Planet. DVD audio. The Beatles White Album. King Crimson, Larks, Tongues and Aspic. Amin Bhatia, The Interstellar Suite. Hey man, come on, just lower your price a little bit. Like even 15-25% and I'm in. It's just a little too much. It's like almost $40 for like a BDR, like a burned Blu-ray. And then it's not even high resolution, right? It should have like a LPCM soundtrack, or at least DTS HD master, or Dolby True HD, but it's like, I think it was only like DTS Core or something. Anyway, why is that in the top 10? Yes Album Blu-ray, that definitely deserves to be there. And then number 11, we have Billy Paul, 360 Degrees, and War of the Gods. So one of the very albums that I just showed you, this guy, number 11. But I'm going to go ahead and say it because Amin Bhatia really doesn't deserve to be there. I'm going to say that Billy Paul is in the top 10. And besides, he's tied with the Yes album at 9.67. So, yeah, I mean, Dutton-Vocalion, in my opinion, has broken into the top 10. They deserve to be there. They need more exposure. They need for you to log into their website. The link is going to be below. I promise. Snatch up anything that looks interesting to you. You're going to pay a quarter or a fifth or a sixth of what you have been typically paying for out-of-print Super Audio CDs on eBay or Amazon or Discogs or wherever. So the value's there. A bunch of the content is interesting. Listen, I'm in my early 40s, and a bunch of their content is interesting to me. Even if you're a little bit younger than me, but super eclectic, or particularly if you have a decade or two on me, you're just going to be like a kid in a candy store. Okay, so log in, see what appeals to you, grab a bunch of these discs, and reward Dutton-Vocalion for putting out the quality that they are. Vintage, classic quads that would have perished in a warehouse somewhere with only those few quadraphonic LP and quadraphonic tape junkies appreciating them before they disappeared completely from existence. Dutton-Vocalion is the current reissue company to rescue classic quad from obscurity. And in my opinion, he's doing a better mastering job than any reissue company that I've heard yet. And if that isn't enough to convince you to log in and throw a bunch of these albums in your shopping cart and enjoy them along with me, I don't know what will. I appreciate you watching. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up. If you don't like it, give me a thumbs down. In any event, tell me what you think. Ideas for improvement. lambast me, castigate me, troll me, likes, dislikes, comments, sharing, subscribing, notifications. All of that interaction shows YouTube that surround music is important to you and can help get this video out to fellow hobbyists of ours or even prospective hobbyists. I'm trying to get the word about surround out to the world, not just in a text-based format like YouTube or a forum, but with video. So help me get the message about surround out to the world so that the whole world can just be happier because surround music is amazing. Okay? So until next time, I appreciate you joining me. Spread the word and live life in surround.